which will lead to a knowledge society and an inclusive growth program between the rural and urban hiatus that we have. And the other is an effective infrastructure which will enable and ensure that. This effective infrastructure is a combination of not only the CSC rural infrastructure, but its integration with the telecom and national infrastructure, because the 2 points which were pointed out by Dr. Dinesh Tyagi in his opening remarks was related to the connectivity and the power. Since connectivity and power are the elements which constitute an integrated, wholesome growth, I think the particular example of the National Optic Fiber Network, wherein broadband network is envisaged for 250,000 panchayats across the country, is a very noble national transformation program in which the CSC, in fact, will play the key nodal role of being the delivery point of all these services, grouped together with an effective infrastructure of connectivity and power. I personally represent the telecom side of this storyline, but I'm an integral part of the CSC ecosystem, because in this ecosystem you need the infrastructure and you need a wide range of services, and then the skill building and the knowledge which Dilip was mentioning, which together leads to a knowledge society of inclusive growth. It is in that context that I would like to say that the CSC Forum has been formed, because the CSC Forum is essentially intended to be a knowledge partner of the Ministry and the Department of Information Technology linked with the CSC SPV. And the intent of this forum is essentially to ensure that we have the best of practices, benchmarking, and as a very perceptive presentation which was made by the Secretary, that it is the facts and the figures which will ultimately help us in understanding how to manage this environmental change and national transformation, that we are all members of the same community. And it is in that context I would like to say that the forum today, with the membership that we have, has a representation of about a mandate of about 70,000 odd CSCs. It's good to hear that we are talking of an overall figure of in excess of 120,000. I would invite those of the SCAs who would like to be part of this knowledge building society and part of this knowledge forum to be also participators of this forum, so that we become effective partners to the Department of Information Technology. And the whole idea is that we are a mix with different backgrounds. I, for example, as chairman of the CSC Forum, represent a telecom infrastructure background. There are members who come from education. There are members who come from microfinance community. There are my colleague, the vice chairman of this forum, Mr. Mahajan, I can see him here, represents the microfinance community, for example. There are members from the education side. There are members from the health group. There are members who are from the software development side. So we are all a plethora, mix of people representing different company interests, but our nodal and goal point is the CSC. Well, it is the CSCs which then lead to the overall transformation, and whatever we can do in that direction would be participative and contributory to that. So I'd like to thank you once again and invite your attention that we as CSC Forum welcome this opportunity. We are not a lobbying body. We are not an association which is there to only promote any sectarian interest, but we are essentially a knowledge building group who would like to have the participation of all, so that we together lead to the rural transformation which we are all looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for proposing a vote of thanks and for your concluding remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the inaugural session. Yes, we are running close to half an hour late, but we now slip into a short tea and coffee break, 10 to 15 minutes if we can manage it. The tea is being served in the basement area, so it's going to be taking some time for you to move there and then come back here. But we request the earlier the better and good, so that we can start with our sessions on time. Thanking you once again, and thanking once again all the speakers. Please join us for tea in the basement, and here we start with the next session, with our fresh discussions and deliberations, as further looking into the role of the CSCs in creating a more vibrant environment. If I can request the audio person to kindly switch off the video there. Creating a vibrant CSC ecosystem, and as we enter into the 5th year of the CSC scheme, it is now being aimed at the district collector, district magistrate, and the various governing bodies at the district level, the various e-governing bodies. They are all more involved and working in association with the VLEs, the SCAs, and the SDAs. So here we have our experts and speakers who are going to be sharing how we can further develop a strong ecosystem which actually aims that all these services reach the people for which they have been designed and formulated. So we'd like to invite now our session chair, Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Joint Secretary, DATE, Government of India, to kindly grace the dais. And inviting our session speakers, Shri Jivesh Nandan, Principal Secretary, Uttar Pradesh, Shri Sanjay K. Panigrahi, CEO of SAHEJ, Shri Vijay Mahajan, Chairman of BASICS, Shri Abhishek Pandit, Director, AISECT, Shri Satish Kalra, DGM, Punjab National Bank, and also Dr. Dinesh Tyagi, Chief Executive Officer of the CSE E-Governance Services India Limited. And for the further proceedings of the session, I hand over to the session chair, Dr. Rajendra Kumar.
Thank you very much, and welcome to this session on creating a vibrant CSE ecosystem. We have a very distinguished panel to discuss this very vital aspect of the CSE scheme. Before I invite the panelists for making their presentations, I would just like to mention a couple of points which may set the context for discussions. As we all know, CSEs have become now, in the last 5 years or so, a very visible element of the service delivery system that we have in the country for electronic services. In many states, they are playing a very vital role in reaching out to the citizens in rural areas. They are doing relatively well now, especially in some states, but still there are many challenges which they need to overcome to ensure long-term sustainability and viability. In terms of numbers, the targets have been reached, which were set for the scheme in the beginning. We now have nearly 1.3 lakh CSEs operational. In terms of the physical infra connectivity, we are almost reaching the goal of providing CSEs with adequate connectivity barring some areas. But the numbers, as we all know, they do not always tell the full story. Still, we have challenges in ensuring that they are able to provide a sufficiently large enough bouquet of services to become sustainably viable. Today's discussion in this session, we shall focus on how the entire CSE ecosystem in the country can be made viable and how the challenges that lie ahead of them can be overcome by the CSE system. In terms of challenges, as we all know, there have been several developments on the technology front which need to be addressed to ensure that CSEs remain viable. For example, in many states now, the government departments have moved towards offering services completely online, which make it possible for a citizen to really obtain services on his or her own device without the need for visiting a CSE. Also, there is need for projects like eDistrict to become operational in all the districts across the country so that G2C services can be offered from many more departments compared to what we are seeing now. How the CSCs can use the existing model of service delivery, how projects like eDistrict can offer them a larger bouquet of services, how CSCs can tap the new and emerging areas, for example, financial inclusion, to attract more users, to give services to more citizens, and in turn become more financially sustainable. So these are the major challenges that I think lie ahead of the CSCs as we move towards greater visibility for electronic services in the country. I would like to invite the panelists and we can hear from them about their own views and how this entire ecosystem can be made more sustainable and vibrant for the CSCs. I would like to invite the panelists and request them to limit their comments within a time of about 10 minutes so that we can have some time at the end for participation from the audience. First, I would like to invite Shri Jivesh Nandan, Principal Secretary IT from Uttar Pradesh, to offer his remarks.
Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Dr. Tyagi, distinguished panelists on the dais, and all colleagues from the community of CSC, let's say. We have tried to implement the National E-Governance Plan, where CSC is an important component in UP. And I have prepared a small presentation, essentially in two parts. I would like to, tell you where we stand today, and secondly, a general, what are the issues that we are facing, which I'm sure is the issue in other states also, and but then, later on we can have a discussion as to what are the solutions to face these issues and to overcome these issues. The presentation I would like to share with you. These are a matter of general statistics. So let's say, total number of Gram Panchayats is for 52,000, which is of relevance, and more so because, and the total number of villages. So this had given us a target, so to say, of 17,909 CSCs in the whole state. And the model that has been part of NEGP, we have 3 SCAs, and through them we are trying to achieve this. And but we have another component which we call Lokwani. Lokwani was existing prior to NEGP, and it is also a front-end kiosk. The functions or the services that it was delivering to people was slightly different, but once the CSC concept came in as the NEGP, then we have tried to make it look similar, and we have already decided that we will merge these two, the different types of front-end kiosks. So this is what I was saying, and you can look at this table. That is what is relevant in the sense that we, on our dashboard, which NIC has created to monitor this, as to how many applications, how many centers and things like that, you will find the first three are our SCAs and registered users, and then we have registered users. Essentially, these are the CSCs which the SCAs say that it exists. And but we have defined further by saying active centers, which are those where at least one transaction has taken place. And therefore, you will find that although registered users are already reached 19,781, but at the active centers, we have roughly 14,100. So this is where we stand. And we started only on 1st of August 2012. Started in the sense that we started delivering government services through these kiosks only from 1st of August. And therefore, now we have 1 year experience, more or less, and this is where we have reached. We can always, discuss at the end as to why have we reached where we have reached. This is the dashboard. I have just taken a snapshot of the dashboard that we use, and it is available to all our district functionaries and anyone else, although not available to people. I mean, it is not a public dashboard, but it is available to us. And we monitor this through this dashboard. And it is supposed to be updated every night at 3. And the NIC has been able to do that. So this gives a detail of what was there on the last slide. Plus also it gives us the number of applications that are coming in. We have 6 pilot e-districts. And that is why what the Joint Secretary was saying, that e-district is vital. Because even in 6 pilot districts, we find that number of applications that come are much more than what is coming through SSDG and state portal. So it has an impact. And fortunately, now Government of India has sanctioned the district for all remaining 69 districts, and we have more or less now, we have decided the SIs also. So hopefully it will start rolling out in coming weeks. And then let's see. It should improve our numbers. As Secretary was saying in the morning, that UP stands at number 10 in that e-TAL counter that he had shown. As far as UP is concerned, there is another issue, which is everything is not linked to that, because because sheer numbers, we have a population of roughly 20 crores, and therefore 43 lakhs that is showing there. So we had a meeting where people from NIC, from Government of India, from Delhi had also reached, and then we are trying to sort out that all services should be connected with e-TAL. So that is one way of capturing everything that is there. And second is, of course, how do we improve these numbers? So this is the challenge. This is talking about e-district, which I have just mentioned to you. So there's nothing very substantial, except for one point which is mentioned at the end, that parallelly when we run these services, let's say from Tahsil and also from these kiosks, then there is an issue. I mean, unless otherwise we are monitoring the delivery time for every application that comes manually to the Tahsil or to the office from where it is supposed to be delivered, and the delivery time of an application which is uploaded from a CSC. And if these two are not matching, then we have an issue. And that needs to be monitored. We are trying to emphasize that this needs to be captured. because it tells us the inside story. If more applications are coming to the manual system and less to CSC, more time is being taken for delivering those services from CSC, then these are the points. I mean, and so what we are planning, this is the peak season because admission time is peak season for all sorts of certificates which people take from CSC, and therefore we are not doing it right now. But within 2 months, we are going to, on experimental basis, we are going to stop manual services, because unless otherwise we stop that, we don't really, understand all these implications. So on pilot basis, we are going to do that during this year itself. I mean, before close of December. These are other initiatives. I don't think these are very much required here. So I will skip this. And this is just a list of services. We can, 26 services are there from 8-9 departments. So all this is just, more of statistics. These are a few photos as to where and how these things are working. And after this, I would just like to take another 3 minutes and discuss one or two issues. We have to keep in mind that CSC is not a scheme. It is reforming the government. And unless otherwise we keep it in mind, we will not, achieve the targets that we have kept. You see, when we are trying to reform the government, there will always be a resistance. We have to understand who are the negative stakeholders, who are trying to resist it, and how do we counter them. I mean, we had occasions when our CSCs were ransacked and even burned. So this has happened. And therefore SCAs who are here, or maybe the VLEs, they know why it happens and how it happens. But we have to, take it into account, because we are trying to reform government. And therefore there has to be a resistance. And that resistance, how do we overcome, is our strategy. And re-engineering. Re-engineering of government processes is also involved. Let me just, share with you that revenue certificates are the one which are maximum, which we give digitally signed certificates, whether it is domicile or age or income or whatever. Then, then departments, they have started saying that no, this affidavit is required, this should be uploaded along with the application that is getting uploaded from CSC. So the point I am making, that processes, and because there are many departments involved, so that needs to be taken. So another is, who is the driver of this movement? This is something which we face, and that is why I have mentioned it here. Ultimately, it is the people who are going to be the drivers. If we give them government services in an easy way, so they will have to put pressure and get it. Fine. But before we reach there, we have to have a private partner who will drive it. Because, very frankly, I have found that otherwise it becomes personalized. If I have interest in driving this as an individual in a district, I will drive it. If as Secretary IT, I am driving it, then it is like a personal effort and I am driving it. But in government systems, once we move out, then who is going to drive it? So we must find a real driver for this. And that people are ultimate drivers. But before that, ownership is also an issue. I mean, I have raised it because, any GP has envisaged that there are 3-4 SCAs who are signing these contracts and doing it. Then what is the ownership of these SCAs and these kiosks at the district level, where exactly the certificates are getting generated? I mean, certificates are not getting generated at state level. They are getting generated different small offices at the district. Then what is the ownership of these kiosks? So we have to think in terms of, we are doing something, but yes, the ownership has to be decentralized. I mean, we can't really think that from Lucknow we will be able to create an ownership in each and every small office which is there in the district, in some corner of the state. And this is my last slide. Financial viability, we have discussed it. Yes, financial viability is an issue. And financial viability, if we give anything to private sector, everything will not be financially viable. How do we take care of cross-subsidizing? If we feel that they will be able to do it on their own, I don't really think so. So this is something where answers are not there. If we will not reach 17,909, then why are we not reaching? Because every center is not financially viable. And we can't depend on SCA to cross-subsidize when profits itself are nothing. I mean, today I think most of the people must be in loss. Or I don't know how they manage it. But the numbers are like that. Anyway, and the last point is that if you create a monopoly situation, Tahsil was one monopoly, or any district office was one monopoly, and therefore there were, all sorts of distortions. We are trying to generalize it, and we have maybe 130 centers, but it is still a monopoly. If we have this service area concept, and monopoly will lead to distortions. So that's a challenge. I mean, today we are implementing it because at least from one we are going to 130, one Tahsil to 130 centers, but it is still a monopoly. Thank you very much. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, sir. I think the points you mentioned are very well taken, especially the issues about the focus on government reforms and on the driving force behind this entire scheme, which is at present not really with the people, but is slowly getting there. And also about ownership of the entire scheme, because ownership is not really clear as of now as to whether it is owned by the SCAs, SDA, the state government, or DIT and Government of India. Also, you mentioned about stopping of the manual services. I think that would be a key driver for really making a CSC scheme viable in a larger state like UP. I think we can have questions at the end of all the presentations. So next I would request Dr. Dinesh Tyagi to make his presentation. I think about the CSC scheme, there is no better person than Dr. Tyagi to speak about, because he has been involved in the scheme right from the inception stage. And at present, he is heading the CSC SPV, which is spearheading the entire scheme in the entire country as the main aggregation mechanism for offering services through the CSCs to the citizens. So, Dr. Tyagi, please.
I already spoken on the issues which are relevant, so I won't take much of the time. And I think I will listen to the various other speakers and see what recommendation can be made and how the system can be made more vibrant. I think one thing which emerges from the Secretary UP, Principal Secretary UP's presentation show that one of the key factors to make CSC ecosystem vibrant is the delivery of G2C. I think how to expedite the process G2C. It is being left to the state. There are programs and other initiatives being done. And how do we now try and activate? How do we closely involve ourselves in getting this? Because it is, that is the key factor for enabling vibrancy. Then we need to be little closely associated in both a district level. I think his points are very valid. There's a close association required at the district level and the state, other mission mode projects in order to do this. As I said, I already made the issues and in the inaugural address, and you all listened to it. I don't have really much to add on those points, and listen to various speakers for suggesting certain recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. I think that's a very vital point, that CSC's viability lies in making G2C available at the CSC level by all the departments in the state. Next, I would request Shri Vijay Mahajan to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. I've always been an enthusiast of this program, but in the last 3 months I've made it a point to visit all the 5 states that we work in, including Tripura, Meghalaya, and the districts of Southern Orissa. And I was in Southern Orissa just 3 days the previous week. And my eyewitness account is that indeed we are finally on the verge of the revolution that the founders of this program envisaged. You know, we always wanted it to be, as Mr. Nandan just mentioned, a program which actually reforms government at the interface with the citizens. And it's beginning to happen as G2C services roll out in state after state. I was in Ganjam district, which is an E district, and just 7 services are making the lives of people so much easier that it's, you know, of course we are all insiders in some ways, so I guess, you know, singing praises of this is not enough. But what hurts me is that all this work is unsung. And yesterday I was in a meeting with Mr. Chaitanya Kalbag, the editor of Business Today. He'd come to Hyderabad for something. And I was mentioning to him about this. And he says, how come nobody even knows about it? And I said, well, you know, you people think that the Sensex is the beginning and end of the Indian economy. So, you know, go out and see it and see what difference these things are making. So I think, sir, all the hard work done so far, all the heartburn so far has been worth it. We are on the verge of it. Another year or two of keeping faith and gathering momentum is what's required. And the point about viability is extremely important, and my own assessment is that while G2C will be greatly helpful in early stage viability, but for long-term viability we'll have to have a bouquet of services, because, you know, G2C is primarily certificates so far, and there's a limit to how many certificates you know, a region would want. You know, when it was hard to get, there was a pent-up demand. I mean, I was in one village CSC the other day, and that lady has issued 960 certificates of this socio-economic backward caste in 6 months. Now, you know, there's a limit to how many more people would want that. Of course, in the meantime, she's earned a decent amount of money. But I think we need to have a bouquet of services which will have more ongoing demand and build a revenue model in that. And in that, although I said this in the workshop that was on agriculture, but I want to repeat it, that we need to adopt what I call the E plus F plus G model, sir. E, of course, stands for electronics. So anything that we can deliver using the internet should, of course, be welcome, and that spans the whole range from government to services to entertainment to education and so on. But there's a limit to that, and then the next is F, which is financial services, and now with every CSC being declared business correspondent outlet, and that now slowly beginning to happen, is already making a lot of difference. And right now it's bank accounts and banking transactions, but we can soon add micro insurance to that. I've been working with the IRDA to sensitize them on this issue. And they now have a Tripura Card officer as an executive director, so he's very enthusiastic about using CSCs as micro insurance outlets. And but G stands for goods, and I maintain that we will, if we think of our CSCs as places where high value, low volume goods can be both collected and distributed, it would significantly change what they are. So they will then become e-commerce outlets. Take, for example, we also work with the Small Farmer Agribusiness Consortium in 16 states promoting vegetable cultivation. Now, vegetable seeds are a critical input. A packet of 100 grams of seeds can sometimes cost 400, 500 rupees. You know, orders can be booked from the CSC in advance because you need to do that. They can be transmitted to distant places. And those packets can literally land 1 or 2 kilometers away from the farmer's place rather than his having to go. So the good thing about a CSC is that it's a fixed place. It has a physical outlet, a shop, it has a signage. It has a certain identity relationship with the government, and therefore is more trustworthy than a regular shop. And if we, you know, most of them are in a shopping area usually, they're not standalone. So, बगल की दुकान एक दो अगर ले ली जाए, one can be a kind of a go down, another can be a place where other physical services can be done. So in many of our CSCs, we are now offering soil testing, for example. Soil testing kits. Many of the VLEs have learned how to do soil testing, and the reports are submitted, are given to the users on spot. Other places we use the CSCs to store liquid nitrogen cylinders. The artificial insemination para-veterinarians come in the morning, use that as a takeoff point, and they come back in the evening to just record the data. But it becomes the point where people call and say, "Humko aadmi bhejiye." So what I'm saying is that we have to start thinking of CSCs as something which is permanent in the lives of people and as a nerve center for their lives and livelihoods. And for that, we'll have to add the goods dimension a little bit. For each of these, there will be revenue models, which this is not the time to detail that out. But basically, in my vision, as well as in what we're trying to do in basics, is that we're assuming that in 3 years' time, they should be able to break even without any revenue from G2C services. Already we heard Mr. Nandan saying that all said and done, it's a monopoly, and I agree with him. A day will come like, IRCTC, initially used to have specific outlets, and now it's from anywhere, any laptop. A day will come when these services will be delivered in the people's mobiles. So G2C is not going to be the long-term viability solution. It's got to be the day-to-day economic activities that people engage in. And of that, I think vocational training is an important one. We heard Mr. Dilip Shinoy talk about vocational training. One of the things that I think we need to explore in vocational training is what I call nano training, sir. Nano training is, India is, we say India is full of unskilled people. That is actually false. India is full of people who have learned skills informally and therefore have not learnt it in a thorough, proper way. There are gaps in their knowledge. And in the meantime, new products and new technologies are arising every day and making them obsolete. Take a plumber, for example, say from Odisha. He's come to Hyderabad, he's served as an assistant plumber for a few months. He learned pehle chudi katna, phir dheere dheere tap lagana, etc., etc. Suddenly, one day he's called to a sophisticated house and he has to install one of those, multi-faucet things with hot and cold water. The thing costs 2,500 rupees. While installing, he spoils it. Now, if we persuade Jacquard, the company who makes it, to do a nano training, which means it takes no more than 30 minutes to learn how to do this perfectly, and no more than a 3-minute video or a 4-minute video to learn this, our CSCs can be outlets from where we can upgrade the skills of thousands of informally trained, millions of informally trained workers in so many fields. I've separately been discussing this with Dilip, but I think it's a perfect match between the capabilities of CSCs and the capabilities of, and the demand out there. Full-fledged vocational training, where you're trying to teach a fellow who doesn't know how to do welding, to teach him welding from a CSC is impossible, because there's too much manual and other things that are required. So, similarly, in case of health, some things can be done with telemedicine, but ultimately people have they expect a full solution. They just don't want a diagnosis. So we have to go beyond just, being able to measure. We have to have some way by which at least first cut prescription can be given. And there's a service called Mera Doctor, where you can actually talk to a qualified physician on the phone. And while, using telemedicine, he could even get your symptoms and do diagnosis. But you're talking to a doctor, and 90% of the patients then use that prescription and are satisfied. Their ailment doesn't become complicated. In other words, what I'm saying is we all, come from the E or I world, and we sort of tend to stay within that. We need to make that breakthrough and go to the F, the financial world, and G, the goods world, and think of the CSC as a hub for all these services. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mahajan. I think there are many important points that you made. The key takeaway I think, is the idea that CSC, they need to move beyond the G2C context. And that holds the key to really making them viable in the long term, because G2C, as he mentioned, is only one set of services which they can offer. And probably in time to come, it will be also made available to people through other delivery models. And CSC will not be the sole points of delivery for such services. Also, the idea about the nano training and the need to expand the basket of G2C services to include more departments, more sectors. This is also one of the ways in which DAITI, the Department of Electronics and IT in Government of India, has been trying to persuade the departments which are currently implementing the MMPs, the mission mode projects, to encourage them to offer their services using the CSC platform. So we have achieved some success in that endeavor, and we hope that more departments will start using CSCs as the primary method for reaching out to citizens in the rural areas. I would now request Shri Sanjay Panigrahi, CEO of Sahaj, to make his presentation. I think he is very well placed to speak about the experience of CSCs from the point of view of an implementing agency, the kind of challenges that they face with regard to the government departments, the relationship with SDA, the state governments, etc. So, Sri Panigrahi.
Thank you, sir. My co-speakers on the dais, friends. You will find in my presentation, when we were discussing this, that what to speak on a CSC Divas, I embarked upon this idea that is CSC only a delivery point, or is it is a point where the consumer wants to come. So the rural consumer is possibly more important than the architecture of a common service center. Most of the services which is being discussed are services which you want to give. Are these the services which the consumer wants? That is a very significant difference, because when you want to give, you look at it from a supply point of view, which is true for G2C services. Because these are mandates of the government, government has to give these services to the citizens, and citizens seek these services. This is a kind of monopolistic situation. But if we look the entire CSC model, I think the fundamentally why it went into a PPP mode was government could believe, which Nandan Sahab also said, that you would not make money ethically only by providing G2C services in a village. After all, we had done an analysis by McKinsey on Mi Seva in Andhra Pradesh. And then he defined that how many customers were coming to his shop for what kind of services and what revenues that generated. And it was a loss-making proposition. If you look at it only that as a service, which government realized. And being a democracy, the price points of delivering such services always will remain a challenge. I have one case where a chief minister of a state declared that all the services of government forms and formats which are being delivered in the CSC will come free. So I was completely astounded that if it is all free, then how do we make money? So we went and represented to him. Of course, next day he clarified through an advertisement in the paper, but these are challenges which will face in any kind of democratic setup in a political situation, because it's a populistic source of government. But one needs to look at two factors. One is what the citizen wants. Number is what about the VLE? The village level, why do we call him a village level entrepreneur? Entrepreneurship means he earns his living by providing the services. Now that is what is the crux of my presentation. There are certain case stories which are very successful, where we found that the VLE tried on his own. We give about 32 B2C services, and in my states where I operate, except for under the leadership of Nandan Sahab, last August, G2C services were rolled out in UP. There is almost nil in Assam. Bihar, only 4 districts are there. same is Odisha and West Bengal. So we were forced to think differently that if we have rolled out these centers, how does this person make a living? वो कैसे जिंदा रहेगा VLE? So when we think of a consumer and the delivery point, we tend to believe that जो दिखेगा वो बिकेगा. एक बहुत पॉपुलर थ्योरी हमारा अर्बन मार्केट में चलता है कि दुकान में कुछ भी लगा दो, अगर दिखता है तो बिकता है. It's a sales-centric approach, does not work. Unless there is a demand, you can fill up your shelf with as many products that you want, it will not sell. But we tend to believe in the CSC program, and if you meet any private sector organization, any government sector organization, they jump out of the seat. In my entire 3 years that I've spent here, I had 21 years of corporate before I came here. I'm yet to see a program where anyone who meets wants to shake hand with you. So when things are so easy, you need to be cautious. But had it been so easy and obvious, it would have taken place long back. Why is it that everyone wants to marry me? He sees you as a channel. And he also doesn't know what consumer wants. He believes consumer wants. So there is a company who sells solar lantern. There is a company who wants to sell soap. There is a company who wants to sell banking services. Everyone believes that this is the last mile, I will go there. And the poor VLE has to be given these services at a particular price point. And here comes the catch. Consumer may be willing to pay, but will your service have the margin which will make the VLE profitable? Are all footfalls which come to your CSC commercially viable? I had gone to a CSC. There was 150 people standing at 2 p.m. कड़कती धूप में खड़े थे और उनको सर्विसेज चाहिए था. Most of the services were dependent on land records, and the state government had said that every 6 months you have to get a new copy if you want to do any transactions. So that gave a model, and it started running. But the CSC as a whole, as a company, never made profit. But if anyone sees from outside, he said, so many people are coming, so much of footfall, यार कुछ भी बिक सकता है. तो सवाल ये 3-4 उठी. मैं presentation में इतना जाऊंगा नहीं because it's a long presentation. I can leave a copy with people who want to see it. But one of the learnings that we had, that don't get into so many things that you cannot do. You don't jump into everything that a VLE can do. A village level entrepreneur has finite capacity. G2C services, yes, he must, because this was the direction of the program. Why a private sector did not go and put 1.5 lakh centers? They didn't find it profitable. It's not that the reach was not. They didn't find it profitable, very frankly so. The postal department, the levers and the PNGs of the world have gone and discussed with the postal departments, which is perhaps one of the largest customer service points, 1.7 lakhs of extra departmental post offices, and it never worked. So why is it that we are asking the VLE to do everything? So we did an analysis and we said, a person who wants to sell education in the village on the e-madhyam, can he sell? Can my VLE sell? What experience does a student want? गांव का स्टूडेंट को क्या एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए? क्या कंप्यूटर हो जाने से सीख जाएगा? जब तक आप एक वातावरण एक स्कूल का नहीं बनाते हैं, आपकी दुकान में आएगा नहीं. तो VLE के ऊपर ज्यादा प्रेशर डालेंगे कि ये बेचना है, वो बेचना है, फॉल्स सेलिंग होगी और बिजनेस मॉडल काम नहीं करेगा. Similarly, if you want to do financial services, banking, yes, people will come to your shop. Want to sell insurance, will never be sold from the shop. Insurance is always outselling. You have to go to person's house to sell insurance. Have you ever bought insurance by sitting down in an insurance company's office? No. So if a VLE is supposed to run his shop, how will he sell insurance? To assume that if there is 150 people lying in front of your shop, then that's why he can sell anything and everything, is the most fallacious thing that can happen. An insurance company will be very keen because he sees 1,50,000 centers and even 10% of that. This is called Excel sheet marketing. You calculate from the Excel sheet and say that this multiplied by 5,000 rupees, 50 crore rupiya banega. Chala 50 to nahi banega, 10 to banega. But what is the value proposition that we talked about? So we could find that there are answers, are very specific answers. These answers are A, segment your market. What you, as a SCA, this is the private side of the job. This is not the job of the government. I strongly believe that government is a development agency. It wants to give, that's its job. Private sector is not a development agency. So if you ask private sector to do development, it can be catastrophic. Similarly, if you ask government to do business, it can be catastrophic. That's completely two different DNA. But here in the VLE, you are trying to merge both. So as Nandan Saab said, there has to be checks and balances. You have to see that he does not misuse his monopolistic right. In fact, if he is an entrepreneur, you open as many CSCs as possible, he will still win. But if he is not a good entrepreneur, he will be poached by another person who has another shop because it's a better understanding. We had done a survey by McKinsey who found out that the most successful VLEs, there are three critical parameters for which consumers believed him. The first parameter was the availability of the service. The second was behavior. Behavior was the second, not the price point. And third, awareness of the product and services which is sold. If you had a government form, he said कि सर ये तो क्लिक करने के बाद फॉर्म आया, इसमें क्या तहसीलदार का सिग्नेचर चाहिए क्या? वो मुझे मालूम नहीं है, ये फॉर्म है, जाके पूछ लो. वो दुकान में लोग नहीं आते हैं. अगर वो बताता है हाँ ये तहसीलदार का चाहिए, ये फॉर्म तो मिला आपको, लेकिन तहसीलदार का आपको सिग्नेचर देना पड़ेगा, लोग उसके दुकान में आए. So this is, if you really look at it, it is actually a phenomena of a shopkeeper, a good well-behaved kirana दुकान जैसा होता है, एक shopkeeper who is basically trying to sell services. So what was being told that the entire structure has to be seen. How does it remain viable? And in that process, the fifth point that came to my mind that was, how do you take from development centricity to a commercial centricity, and commercial centricity to a development centricity? If it is a government shop, there will be pressures from government to sell services, many of which will not be profitable. I remember the first time that election telecasting was being done, one young IS officer, and it was nowhere in the card anywhere. He just came and took away my VLE's laptops. And he said, तो VLE बोला भैया मेरा लैपटॉप आप लेके जाएंगे तो मैं धंधा कैसे करूंगा? तो बोलता है कि धंधा क्या करोगे आप? NEGP के अंडर में हो, you know I can put you behind the bars under the people representation act, so you have to come and you have any, after all he said सर आपने तो कुछ सर्विसेज दिया नहीं, अभी लैपटॉप लेके जा रहे हैं. नहीं तुझे कुछ करना नहीं है, मेरा वहाँ पे गांव के बूथ में जब लोग आके वोट देते हैं, मैं देखना चाहता हूँ कि वहाँ पे रिगिंग हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, तू मुझे सिर्फ टेलीकास्ट कर. क्या चाहिए ना कुछ नहीं चाहिए, तो कंप्यूटर रख और मैं BSNL को बोल के 2 Mbps का लाइन लगाऊंगा और आपका वहाँ पे कैमरा 300 रुपए की कैमरा आती है. तो बोला मुझे पैसा चाहिए. बोला कितना पैसा चाहिए? बोला उसका मुंह से निकल गया 2500 रुपया पर डे. एंड ही सेड आई विल पे. एंड इट हैपेंड, इट एक्चुअली हैपेंड इन बिहार. एंड दैट इज हाउ वी वेंट टू अदर स्टेट्स. एंड टुडे in many of these state elections, etc., we do telecast. But many, he agreed for 2,500, but fine, but someday it may be only 50 rupees. Because the government may feel that that is the rate which may be given, may not be profitable. But then how does he live? How does this person, so that is one development part of it, that he has to do. And the VLE wants to do it. VLE never says that I don't want to do, VLE wants to do it. But second, you have to continuously identify opportunities where the VLE will make money from the rural citizen ethically. That requires a marketing mind, and that doesn't require a sales centricism or saying that I will provide these services so the VLE ke yahan bahut bikega. Last point is capacity building. Capacity building on I have a reservation on capacity building on e-medium. E-medium is a good medium to give knowledge. It doesn't give you soft skills. It doesn't also give you complex product training, complex services training. Any product or services that you give in a village, if it is complex, margins will be high. If it is not complex, margins will be low. There is no money you will make by selling mobile top-ups or DTH recharges. Sell a financial services, you will make money. Sell a telemedicine, you will make money, because these are complexes. These can never be learnt by using the e-medium. So we learnt it the very, very hard way. We wasted a lot of money by trying to develop. We had a full 25 people who were just creating content, e-content on 3D, 2D mode, कि बिजली उसके अंदर जाएगा, इसको दबाएगा और उसको पता चल जाएगा. बेसिक क्या था दिमाग में? पैसा नहीं खर्चा करना है, आदमी नहीं रखने का है. E-medium में है तो everything should be done by IT. A villager is not necessarily infatuated by IT. He is a consumer, he wants a particular service. And the VLE, he says, मुझे आप बता दीजिए, मैं फिर करने के लिए तैयार हूँ, लेकिन बीच बीच में तकलीफ होगा तो कॉल सेंटर में फोन करता हूँ तो सवाल जवाब नहीं मिलता है, और जो जवाब मिलता है वो मेरा. तो हमने देखा कि ये VLE ट्रेनिंग जो है, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग है, it has to be done in a human form. So we invested, and I can tell you that today all the VLEs who are successful with us are people who have at least gone for minimum 15 to 20 days of man days of training in a year. We continuously do that activity, and that is one factor I will sincerely request the government as well as the CSE SPV not to ignore in the pursuit of thinking that because it is e-governance, the training also has to be we should use technology as an enabler, but we should not use technology as a substitute for something which look at the biggest of the corporates. Does the biggest of the corporates train their salesmen on e-medium? All their salesmen in urban places, you can go in the evening to a computer class. No, they don't. Selling techniques are still told because that is how role plays are. That is how people learn. The best of the salesmen learn at that. Once in a lifetime you have to do, but you can't just say that it will be done on the e-medium. The best of the coaching classes of IIT, why people have to go to Kota? The entire thing can be offered here. What is there? The entire thing can be offered. Khan Academy gives the entire content on this medium. Yes, there is a crowd. There is a 10% crowd. But in that pursuit, to miss out the actual value proposition is a very, very critical factor which we must keep in mind. So to end my talk, sir, the CSC is possibly one of the most exciting revolution. I can't think of one. We had Astha workers, you had Anganwadi, we had extra departmental post offices, you had BCs, but this is one where the services converge, and you are creating an ecosystem which will stand in good state. And I am not very worried about the monopolistic right being taken away, because I believe that if you have a CSC which has been economically viable, financially viable in that village, even if you take it away, people will come to his shop. They will know to go to, and if he is not able to give the services, they will go to other shops. Look at IRCTC, for example. You and me still book ticket, but 65% of IRCTC tickets are still booked on the railway stations. 65%. And they launched the services in 2002, and this was only one railway ticket booking. Now you are talking of a host of services by host of departments. So with that, I will end my talk, and I wish CSE SPV a great success. CSE Forum, of which we are a member, and many of our SCAs are member. We are trying to always build such kind of learnings that we bring to the table and give it to them. And along from CSE SPV also take the services and present it to the rural citizen through the CSC. Also, we bring services on our own, looking at markets, segments, corporates which require customized service in particular districts and villages. And I think that makes the ecosystem much stronger than only depending on the e-governance or the government services side. The G2C and the B2C, in fact, in the first research paper, it was said that 33% of the revenue only will come from G2C and 67% has to come from B2C. So with that in example, I think a better approach to B2C services is what the SCAs need to do, rather than thinking that services will come and if I just make it available, consumers will start buying. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Panigrahi. I think your points about focusing on what citizen wants and what VLEs can offer is really important. And also the point that VLE must be an entrepreneur to really succeed. That's really key to the entire viability of the CSC scheme. You mentioned about capacity building. That's a vital need for the VLEs. And also the need to focus on the larger ecosystem. Not just focusing on G2C, but also B2C becoming a vital part of the entire service bouquet that VLEs can offer. Next, I would request Mr. Abhishek Pandit, Director of ISET, to make his presentation.
Thank you, sir. Respected members on the panel, some of my dear VLEs, I see a lot of VLEs here from various SCAs. It is your day, and I'm hoping आपको इस दिन से कुछ शाम को लेके जाने को मिलेगा. So try and get most of today. Members of the CSC ecosystem and invitees. So before me, Mr. Panigrahi and Mr. Vijay Mahajan had already set the tone. They've given a good perspective of some of the issues and some of the activities that need to be done in the field as well as at the state level as well as the national level. Some of the activities that could be done. So I'll not repeat what has been told. I'll just restrict my views to a few points. Now, today's discussion being on vibrant CSC ecosystem, there are two important aspects here, vibrancy and ecosystem. Now, if we look at the CSC ecosystem, the CSC ecosystem itself has a lot of bodies in it, starting from the CSCs, the SCAs, the SDAs, DIT, CSC, SPV, and not to forget the district level, members, DMs. So it is important that when we say a vibrant ecosystem, all of them need to be on the same page, and all of them need to be vibrant. I'm happy that Dr. Tyagi has taken this initiative of taking this drive to the next level, that is taking it to the district level, which is more important. I think it's good that we are doing a brainstorming here. We'll have some points to discuss at the end of the day, some action points. But the most important thing is taking this particular agenda to the grassroots level. And we are looking forward to those meetings as well, sir. So I think that's commendable. Now, when we talk about the ecosystem, it's not just these bodies. We have technology as well. We have popular services. Now, all of this together make the entire ecosystem. When we talk about services, there is no doubt that G2C service is one of the most important aspect for CSC, not from a revenue generation perspective, but if you ask some of the VLEs, they would say that they need G2C purely from the perspective of gaining credibility in that village. That is one of the point that we had noticed from our VLEs, that even if it is not a very highly profitable business, it is the credibility that brings into them. In fact, financial inclusion is another project which has picked up very well, and one of the main reasons, apart from the fact that there was huge demand in the market, was the fact that it brought in a lot of credibility for them in the market. Representing a bank in that particular village was a huge thing for them. So G2C services are important. B2C service, like Mr. Panigri said, majority of the income is going to come through B2C services. Like Mr. Mahajan said, long-term sustainability, B2C service. There is no doubt about that. And we are all capable of getting in B2C services. I'm sure that we'll do a good job moving forward on getting these B2C services as well. So couple of points that I wanted to mention is that let's take a particular VLE in anywhere, right? We are talking about, we've been talking about a whole host of services. We've spoken about FI, education, health, UID, sale of goods, skill development. Now put yourself in a VLE's shoes. It is impossible for you to do all of these activities together. It is taken for granted now that we take all the services to a VLE and say कि आप ये भी करो, आप ये भी करो, ये करोगे तो इतना पैसा मिलेगा, ये करोगे तो इतना पैसा मिलेगा. But we've seen that most VLEs stick to a few services. When I say few, they stick to one